We're not a group of people who are going to be, sitting quietly. We're going to stand up and fight for change.
That was Kat Rose, a young Australian queer rights advocate at the National Union of Students, speaking about equal rights for lesbian, gay and bisexual Australians across the nation and how same-sex groups will not stop until their voices are heard. Kat is just one Australian identified with the country's LGBT community, and she welcomes newly appointed PM Kevin Rudd in his support of same-sex marriage. This is what Mr. Rudd had to say just last month when he announced his support for same-sex marriage.
I believe that surely Australia has grown up enough in the year 2013 for the secular state to have its definition of marriage, religious institutions and the Christian church to have their definition of marriage, and for them each to be able to conduct their own ceremonies.
Standing as the first leader in support of marriage equality in Australia's history, Rudd has made waves in the last couple of days following his 57 to 45 vote victory over former Prime Minister Julia Gillard at a caucus meeting on Wednesday. While Mr. Rudd has announced his support of same-sex marriage, the legislation can only pass if both Liberal and Labor parties cast a majority vote in favour of the change. Unlike Labor, opposition leader Tony Abbott does not allow his party a conscience vote. Instead, members are required to vote within party lines. Yet just hours ago, Mr. Rudd had called for Tony Abbott to allow a conscience vote on gay marriage, saying it was time to end the issue once and for all. A poll released by Galaxy Research in 2012 found that 2/3 of Australians support same-sex marriage, with support at its strongest amongst young voters, with 81% of respondents aged 18 to 24 supporting same-sex marriage. Kat said that politicians representing Australia can't ignore the opinions of their constituents, nor should any political policy discriminate against the rights of people in the community.
Abbott is going to be under more pressure, but I don't think that the pressure should just be about a conscience vote. Tony Abbott should be under pressure to support marriage equality himself. He's not off the hook. What is he doing standing for Parliament if he doesn't even think that people should have equal rights in this country? As far as I'm concerned, no one with a conscience should be able to stand for Parliament on a platform that opposes equal rights for a significant section of the population.
Kat said that Mr. Rudd needs to make marriage equality a matter of priority before the coming election.
We just have to see if he's going to do anything with it now. What I want to see is him treat this issue as a matter of priority, to make whatever has to happen while he's got a second chance as Prime Minister to get this law actually changed, because we're going to be going into election mode pretty soon, and I think that to see this issue just held up as a kind of vote winner would be a real shame. We want this to be treated with the importance that it deserves.
During his speech as Australia's new Prime Minister, Mr. Rudd made a public plea toward the country's youth, asking them to come back afresh and engage with Australian politics. Kat said that it's difficult to engage with Australian politics when the country's leaders don't listen to opinions held by the public.
No wonder young people are so tuned out of politics at the moment. They haven't shown any interest in listening to people on their policy platforms.
If Abbott does not allow his party a conscience vote, it will be much more difficult for the Australian government to legislate for same-sex marriage. Kat said that despite the election outcome, LGBT communities will continue to lobby for equal rights.
The reality is that we're just going to have to fight this guy for our rights, regardless of the election outcome. We can win progressive reforms under anybody, and the Labor Party have not particularly been our friends while they've been in office either, so it's just going to be a matter of continuing the fight, whoever's in office.
Mr. Rudd said his change of heart on gay marriage came after talks with LGBT Australians and believes it's not only time for the state but the church to change their position on same-sex marriage. Kat said that in addition to equal rights, religious exemptions that discriminate against same-sex groups need to be removed.
The other thing that really needs to be changed is the religious exemptions that apply to a whole range of legislations that are meant to ensure our equal rights. like adoption, for example. We have the right to have same-sex adoptions, but most of the services are carried out by religious organisations who are allowed to discriminate. So, we just want to see, we want to see these things addressed as a matter of priority, because we should be way beyond that. Most people seem to think that we deserve equal rights, like it's just a matter of the government catching up with the times.
Hitting the streets of Melbourne, I'd asked some young Australians what they thought of Kevin Rudd as Australia's first PM to support marriage equality and if it would change their vote in the coming election.
Because Kevin Rudd now is the first Prime Minister to openly support gay marriage, it probably would change how I would vote in the upcoming federal election. Because at the moment, a lot of the focus is on the economy, but I also think a strong focus needs to be on social policy as well.
I would say that it would change my vote, because I'm someone who also believes in same-sex marriage, and knowing that he also supports it would be, he's got my vote.
So, of course I support it, because I'm a human being with morals and ethics, but I just don't think it's going to make a difference, unfortunately, just because of the schmozzle that we're currently going through in politics.
I think it's good that more politicians are standing for same-sex marriage, and I do support it myself. I feel, though, with all the other things that are happening with Kevin Rudd right now, that it will probably be diminished in the media.